Find out what she does, because I know she does hers out of her home. So find out what it is, like whether you need to go do a food handler's class, all that kind of stuff, and get your certs and all that, and we can make this legit and do it. So
Yeah, man.
It's exciting to see what's happening, man.
That's dope. I also wanted to say, I don't know what the sample was, if it was like a half ounce bag or ounce bag, but no, legit. I was if y'all could give me some sampler bags in on a Friday, because like I said, my Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays now are like back to back to back to back to back. So I can just have some sampler bags and tell each person to take one, and I'm sure, you know, if it's that dope, you know what I'm saying, that they're gonna come back with some more.
For sure, you know it, definitely, man. Because I'm like, the other thing, next step is like I said, there's gonna be variations, man. We gonna blow this thing up, man. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah.
Cause I think, man, if anything for me, like as an entrepreneur, and I think, you know, we have the same sentiment, all of us, like when we see other people like step out and they just like, you know what I'm saying, kind of find, you know, or stumble upon, you know what I'm saying, and get this revelation. So I think that's like, one of the things that was like really at the very heart of us starting, you know, Watch Me Develop. So on that note, what's happening, everybody? What's blapping? Don the Blaptist, 1/3 of the Watch Me Develop podcast, live and direct, man, on another episode, man. Thank you guys for joining us. As you know, I'm not alone. I'm just 1/3, but I got the other 2/3 here with me. To the left of me, I have the anti-shot caller, Ergo Dad, Ergo Leash Inventor.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Stephen Joshua Bonds.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, fam?
And to the right of me,
Derecha.
I got the MVP of WMD.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Brother Cousin, the man who's not only behind the camera, but in front of the camera, as you can see.
All around
360. John Butcher Jr.
2023, baby.
2023.
Party for president.
Man, get up out of here with that stuff. Get up out of here.
Josh is like, who?
Right. He's like, you know, I'm not into sports like that. Well, UFC.
Right. Facts. That's it. If they ain't fighting, I don't really care. I'm
Bro,
keep it a
Francis
buck.
left.
Yeah. Oh, serious?
Yeah, he did.
He left.
Weak sauce.
I'm happy for him though. He's in communication with Tyson Fury's people right now. So I mean, he can mess around and get a bag that's probably been bigger than his whole career so far.
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. That's crazy, man. So yeah, we got a lot of moving and shaking that's been going on, man. So it's funny, you know, we kind of start off talking about sports and everything, because I kind of wanted to touch on in our conversation today regarding like competition, and you know, like I was just thinking about it, especially like with the fact that, you know, Big Co, he's you know, that's what's brought him to the place he's at right now, man. He's just super competitive. That kid has always been competitive. You give him a time limit, if it's time, he gonna try and beat the time. Oh, yeah. If it's an amount, he gonna try and beat the amount. Like, this dude goes to restaurants and does challenges. Like he'll do the challenge. He went to Fat Burger. He went to Fat Burger, did the Fat Burger challenge.
Wow.
He's like that. That's his thing, right? He's competitive. When it comes, even but it's made him good all around. Like, because even with grades, but concerning like when he with his you know, his little nagging injuries and stuff like that. That was also something that, like, the PT was telling him, like, hey, man, I know you're highly competitive. I know you like being active. You probably got a high threshold for pain, right? High tolerance for pain. So you're gonna need to sit down and chill. Like don't push it. Don't push
Right.
the line.
Right.
And so being competitive has gotten him through everything. And so I was just thinking about it. You know, people say there's that saying that friendly competition is healthy, right?
Yeah.
And so I just wondering, like, is competition really healthy? Like, or is competition just something like outside of sports directly? Is competition should it even be a thing? Should it even be a concept? Right? Other than the fact of you just trying to better yourself.
Right.
So what do you guys thoughts about that?
Well, one thing I'll say about competition in general, especially as it relates to our New Year's resolutions. For me, like fitness, right? Being in shape, exercising was always tied to competition, right?
Same, for
It's
sure.
like I know that I can perform better if I run faster, jump higher, if I'm stronger, right? So when high school competition stopped, when basketball stopped, me just being in the gym lifting weights felt aimless. You know what I mean? So now we're in this weekly basketball league with the church, right? Competition, right? And at first, the main goal was like just to go in there and walk off the court. You know what I'm saying? Not to get injured. But now as we started getting a few dubs and we 3 games in, now I'm like, oh, no. I want to have my cardio better, right? I want to be stronger. I want to be jumping. Like the competitive nature in me, and not just in me, but in all the fellas, I'm starting to see a drive. And I know it's been a catalyst for not just myself, but back into fitness, right? So for me, I'm realizing that competition is something that I want in my life moving forward, just period. I'm already looking into what's gonna be the next league. Even other possible sports like boxing, Muay Thai, like that type of stuff to keep me competitive because I miss that. But I think there's people, you hear people like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, who played mind games with themselves, like to create external, like
the game within the game.
the game within the game. Like, oh no, I don't like that guy. Really, it's not that he don't like him, but he's telling himself he don't like him so he can play harder during that game. So I think it's all just about like what you can do to drive you to be better, to be more. For some people, I don't think it's necessary. Some people just got it and they could do it by themselves. But for me, I think playing against someone else is helping me reintroduce competition into my lifestyle. What about you, Jay?
I know for me, I'm highly competitive. I'm
Yeah.
the same way. Played sports as a youth. Even be able to play a little bit in junior college. But I know for me, as far as my competition goes, it was a little bit different. I wanted to prove whoever said I couldn't do it wrong. And so that kind of stemmed from something that happened in middle school. Like, I got cut from every middle school team in middle school, but I was still athletic.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize until I got older that that was my driving force. Like, if I even heard a hint of somebody doubting, I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And it ended up becoming unhealthy. One of the things that became my turning point for competition was actually what I experienced in junior college. Coach Kevin Marks, now he's like the sports psychologist teacher over at Solano. Shouts out to Coach Marks. His biggest thing in our meetings was always like, you're your biggest competition. So be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
He's like, you can try to compete with the guy, like say if you're a second or third string, which was my case. You can try to compete with the guy that's in front of you, or you can try to be better and better each and every day. And before you know it, you're going to be the best person on the field.
That part.
And so, in the same part with me, as far as like keeping myself healthy and working on my health, it's been working out is usually tied to some sort of competition, or maybe I work out to get to a certain point. The last competitive thing we did was Winter Warrior a couple years back. And I probably was working out harder than I had worked out in a long time.
Yeah.
Now, again, trying to be able to walk without being injured or, tear any ligaments or do anything like that.
Shout out to 30.
That's almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah.
But it's just mainly just like, okay, how can I keep the drive going without, one, like you said, injuring myself, and two, not getting so unhealthy with it to where I've gotten away from the purpose in which I was trying to do in the first place. So mainly for me, it's just been like competition is healthy when you put it in the right perspective. Like, yes, let it drive you, but don't let it consume you. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be so competitive till it's like to the detriment of yourself. Like you brought up with Jericho. It's like, I'm gonna beat you to the ground. And like, we talk about like the Mamba mentality, like overcome it. They talk about like Kobe Bryant playing on that torn Achilles and him staying in and shooting those free throws. Or even if you look recently in the NFL playoffs, Patrick Mahomes having a high ankle sprain in the middle of the game, but finishing the game out, scoring 2 touchdowns to win the game. It's like, okay, yes, these guys were able to see victories in their lives, but every time isn't necessarily a push yourself moment. Sometimes it's like, man, you might push yourself and end up like killing yourself in the way that you're doing that.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's just mainly like, how do I do this in a healthy way, in a productive way?
Yeah.
Because all movement isn't progress.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
Well, what was it you that brought up like the 4-minute mile? Or
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
Because like they were saying it's impossible, nobody could ever do it, and so I think that was kind of like that same kind of competitiveness that you were talking about. JR, is like somebody saying it can't be done, and then somebody does it, because the fear was your heart will explode if you attempt that, and so some people are like willing to like just make those sacrifices, right? Like, okay, YOLO, and then they just jump out there and
if
do
he
that.
dies, he dies.
Yeah, right. And so I know for me, I've had like this love-hate relationship with competition. And I don't know if it's necessarily, I would say that it's, I know when I find myself leaning towards the direction of competition, that it kind of takes all the fun out of it for me, right? Because my focus then goes to not necessarily being my best, but trying to be better than, right? It's not me
Right.
being my best, but I'm just trying to be better than.
Whoa.
As opposed to leaning in the direction of challenge, right? Leaning in the direction of challenge. So I think for me, the answer is more so challenge. You know what I'm saying? To face a challenge, to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
So that way, because when you face a challenge, if you go through the challenge and the competition look look very similar.
Closely related.
Yeah, because there's with competition there's going to be challenges. So there's a difference between being challenged to be better at what you're already good at, or maybe what you're not as good as you could be at, as opposed to competition has this like undercurrent that can seduce you and suck you out into oblivion. And you're out there, and I'm like completely out in the middle of something that I'm not good at, and I begin to drown, right? You know what I'm saying? Because at first it was good. I had my legs, and then all of a sudden now I'm like, I can't feel the bottom anymore.
Yeah.
And now I'm out here all of a sudden in these waters where, as opposed to with the challenge, there's a similar experience that you have where like, okay, I'm meeting the challenge, and then it gets deeper, and you go out there deeper, and you don't feel the ground anymore. But it's not like this sense of panic because my motives are different, right? My motives are, okay, how is this going to make me better? Or how do I adapt to this so I can be better, as opposed to being out there in uncharted waters because somebody like you allowed yourself to be seduced and pulled out here with the wrong motives, and now you like.
Would you classify that as like a type of greed, for instance, right? So it's like you kind of get into like, okay, here's my goal. Man, I'm just trying to prove them wrong. I'm trying to prove them wrong. I'm trying to prove them wrong. I'm trying to prove them wrong. Like you said, it leads you into uncharted waters. It reminds me of a conversation that David Chappelle was being interviewed by, I don't know if it was Oprah or somebody, but it was talking about a conversation he had with his father. It was like, know what your number is. Because as soon as you get to that number, that's it.
Yeah, it said name your price.
Name your price,
Yep.
yeah. So it's just kind of like, would it be wise enough for somebody to say, in this instance, when it comes to competition, when it comes to that drive, is to like, hey, name your price, name your goal, name what you set out to do, because otherwise you can end up in the deep water.
Absolutely. I think, for instance, like with the challenge, right? A challenge should be goal oriented, definitely, right? But when it comes to competition, it's like it's you almost kind of are basing your level of performance based upon somebody else's performance. You know what I mean? So like in sports, that's what it's called. It's called a competition. Every game is a competition. I know most of us think of competition like when it comes to the very height and the pinnacle of everything, like Super Bowl or the playoffs. You know, those that's where we tend to think of competition. But no, every game is a competition. Every meet is a competition, and so it involves more than one person.
Yeah.
As opposed to with the challenge, it can involve multiple people, but the challenge is really like about you. Like, I know there's probably some people that enter the Spartan race or whatever, the Spartan challenges, to be the best, but it's like that's great, that's cool, and maybe it's because you're doing elite, but you have other people who just enter it because they want to challenge themselves and see.
Right.
How do I measure up as far as these obstacles are concerned? Not so much as to who the top athlete is in these races.
I think another to get to you, JR, when it comes to setting your number, right, or setting your goal, making sure that whatever that number is and whatever that goal is true to you, right? Not, he did 50, so I need to make sure I do 51.
Right.
But being real, like, okay, I'm going to give it my all. I got 17. Now that's my new number.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And going with that, because I feel like anytime you're pursuing something that's completely outside of what God's already put inside of you, you know what I mean? That's when stuff starts to implode, right? It's like the foundation that you're standing on is not strong, you know? And at some point, you're probably going to stop once you reach that because the desire wasn't true to begin with.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, so here's what's funny. Like, I was thinking the other day, you know, because I've often wrestled a lot with you know, wanting certain things, wanting nice things, wanting more in X, Y, and Z. And so I was just thinking the other day, you know, Raquel and I are getting older. We're approaching the season in our life where we'll be in the crowd of like empty nesters, so to speak, right? And so our thing is like, okay, do we still want a big house? You know what I'm saying? Do we still want a big house moving forward?
Really
and I was just thinking, I was like, no, actually, we do still want a big house, because our heart is always that even when our kids leave the nest, that we want, like, for holidays or vacations and stuff or whatever, once they disperse to wherever it is that their home base is, that we want them to be able to come back
And host.
and bring their families. We want to host
Yeah.
and we want to have room for them.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, like, okay, we have 4 kids, so our house has to be at least 5 bedrooms, because I want them to have their own space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but with that, I know that we also need workspaces. So maybe we need 6 or 7 bedrooms. You know what I'm saying? If this is what our heart's desire is. And it's not like for the sake of, so we can be like, welcome to my crib and floss on somebody. It's the fact of, no, this is what we deem, you know what I'm saying? Because our heart is like, okay, we want, you know, friends that live out of state that for whatever reason they want to come back and visit. You know what I'm saying? That we can host them at our home, and they ain't got to worry about spending money for a hotel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They come stay with us, stay at our crib, and kick their feet up and enjoy their time out here.
Yeah.
And so these are just things that you got to always kind of check your motives and check your, you know, make sure that you have proper perspective on things, because like you said, it's real easy. Again, you know, going to the whole competition aspect, a lot of times I find with competition that sometimes you get suckered into situations like the fact that, okay, you dominated at this level and you see this dude, but you're not recognizing that he's on a different level than you are. And you think, light work, let's go. And then you enter into, like, let's just say in a fight situation. We see it all the time. You got dudes that are light heavyweights, or you got dudes that are middleweights that are like, I think I could go dominate
I go
at
up.
heavy. I can go up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're not used to carrying that weight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when they get in there in competition, it shows.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or they didn't challenge themselves enough prior to
Yeah.
the competition.
Yeah.
And so they find themselves in deep waters, and you know, it can end up devastating.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about this? So I was hollering at it's a few cats in this hoop league that we're in that I know from high school, and we just matched up with some opponents last week who they hadn't lost either, right? It was 2-0. 2-0. Someone's O had to go that day, right? And fortunately, it wasn't us. They ended up taking one, and then I was following the point guard, D Badger, and he was running. He was 6 miles in. You know, he had posted it, you know, his pace and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I see you. I said, I remember at the end of the game, he said, I'll see y'all again. You know, because I know we're probably going to see them in playoffs, right? And he had ended up mentioning that essentially they took the league last year. Yeah. And he was saying, like, man, I'm happy to see you guys out there because it was fun winning last year. But, like, we got too comfortable. We got complacent. You know, so my question is competition bad, right? Because it seems like this iron sharpens iron, right? And this new level of competition, us being in the league is causing them to, like, wake up. Like, all right, we got to go a little bit harder. You know what I mean? So would y'all say that competition is bad? Do we need competition in a way? Like...
So I don't. Again, that's the whole thing. Is I don't know if it's necessarily inside of sports. Yeah, definitely you need competition.
Yeah.
And in this case, like, you know, you're talking about sports, so definitely I think competition within that, especially friendly competition,
right,
is definitely healthy. But I'm talking about on an individual basis. You know what I'm saying, with us, because we're not always, you know, in sports. You know what I'm saying. And so at the same time, what I know for sure for a fact. Is that when there's not a demand placed on your potential, you'll be complacent.
Right.
You'll be complacent. And that's what I'm hearing him say in the midst of competition. Like, we as a team, we firing on all cylinders, we good, we running the league, and then you guys show up and it's put a demand on our potential as a team. Like, we had gotten comfortable, and now we gotta put in some work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You guys have come in and disrupted, and that's what I feel like a lot of time happens in our lives is that disruptions, like there's God-appointed disruptions that come about in our lives that when we felt comfortable or we think we found our rhythm, he'll switch the time signature. He'll change the time signature, right, or he'll call a rest.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, right? He'll call a rest. And that's what I was talking to Jericho about, like, you know, be thankful for this down season. Like, this is not necessarily a time that is afforded to everybody that's in your position. You know what I'm saying? And so you're actually going to see a lot of the benefits from this. I know initially it didn't seem like it was something that you really wanted to go through, but this is actually like is Father filtered, is God ordained, and you know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Just making sure you're not having a seizure.
No.
What's happening?
Something just hit me.
I was like, yo.
All right. So in competition, right? Maybe it's that in sports, the goal is to be better than the opponent. But outside of the competition, the goal is to be the best you that you can be, right? Like what you was talking about earlier. Because as an individual, it's not healthy to just be constantly comparing yourself to other people. And I'm just trying to be better than them. And it's what the Joneses or whatever,
keeping up with the Joneses,
trying to keep up with the Joneses. And this is something that came to my mind the other day, just as birthdays have been going on, right? I think it was with Nadia's birthday. Of course, I thought to myself, man, it's Nadia's birthday coming up. What's something I know that she would really enjoy? What is it that I could do to show her that I appreciate her on this day? Well, that pre-frame, right, of what is it that I could do to show her I appreciate her on her special day is something that as a thought process and a perspective I can look at and treat my wife like that on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? How can I show her I appreciate her on today? And we all know what it feels like to be appreciated on our own birthday, to get the phone calls, to feel the love.
Right.
But then it's like, I've been thinking to myself, like, what would it be like if I treated each individual like it was their birthday on that day, right? And what else that's morphed into is like, Ben, I don't know if y'all seen the meme or some joke or something that said, have you ever been depressed
Yeah.
and then got your hair cut and then
Oh,
realized
yeah,
that,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
man, I'm still fly. All I
All
really
you needed
knew
was a haircut.
was a haircut, right? And it's crazy because I'm a barber, right?
Yeah.
And I've gone, bro, like probably within the last 5 years, probably of having kids, I'll go over a month without a cut, but I can cut my own hair. And I went and I sat down in the chair at Crowns with the homie TJ. I was looking at myself afterwards, and I was like, dang, you feel me? I feel great. You know what I'm saying? Like, look good, feel good.
Confidence through the roof.
And what I've been like challenging myself to do is to like look my best on a daily basis. Like, I'm not going to be this young forever. So when I look in the mirror, I want to look my best so I can savor this moment. Because there's going to be a time where I look in the mirror and it's wrinkly and I don't got no hair, you feel me? And I want to be my best.
What you trying to say, bro?
Oh my God.
You know what would have been funny? Is we just
No, but in every way, bro, you feel me? Even in regards to, and it's, that cup has like overflowed over into even fitness. Like, I'm now starting to walk past, I'm not just walking past my pull-up bar. When I see my pull-up bar, I go and I hop on it, and it's like 2 today. That's 2 more than I did yesterday. You feel me? I get back on it. Every time I walk past, I'm getting down and I'm doing 8 push-up. That's turned to 8. Now I'm maxing out at dub. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm doing sit-ups. So it's like, I'm trying to just be better than myself. And like you said, that your coach said, I feel like the individual who's constantly trying to just be the best selves and be better than they were yesterday, because not everyone's doing that work, it will show when the curtain, is pulled back and it's time for you to perform because you've been working. You know what I mean?
And the thing about that too is when he says to be your best, do your best, it's not permission for mediocrity. It's not you saying, okay, I'm just okay with whatever shows up. It's more so, I'm gonna give maximum effort to this, and whatever that maximum effort comes out, it comes out. And then I go back, I reassess, figure out how to get better and go from there. What I was gonna say on the level of competition, and I might catch some slack for this, okay? But I'm in the school of thought, especially when it comes to team sports, that teams are great because of the leadership, right? We look at Kobe Bryant, we look at Michael Jordan, and it seems like now as time is going along, we start to realize just how much Kobe was emulating Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that I find is a common denominator between those two successful teams, or ultimately 11 successful seasons between the Bulls and the Lakers, is the common denominator was Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson put those great players in great positions to be their very best. And so it's just like, from a leadership perspective, there can be a time, I've seen too many times in sports where the better team lost because of bad coaching or bad leadership. And so it's just like, man, not only from a team perspective or a perspective where you're over a certain amount of people, it's like, how can I put this person that is doing their best in the best position for them to succeed? You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so, like, I'm starting to realize, too, like, just kind of just not only as a leader to not only inspire people to do their best, but to say, hey, I see your strengths. Here's how we can work together to make sure that strength shines or that strength comes to the forefront. So that way we can all be successful together and have this victory together. For me, like, beginning this year, a lot of my focus has been on, I'm one part entrepreneur, another part ministry leader. And so a lot of my focus has been into ministry now that, praise God, my bosses, my parents, our pastors are back.
Yeah.
Not that we haven't been like having our hand on the plow and working, but like just having that focus in, doing better even at the church. And I think a lot of people think that church is just, okay, we read the Bible and go home. There's a lot of organization that happens within churches. And just me being ultra focused and laser focused on how I lead and how I try to stay organized. Because for me, being a busy guy, like it can be easy to start to drown. Like, let me be the best dad ever. Let me be the best entrepreneur ever. Let me be the best pastor ever. But it's kind of like, okay, what's my goal? Let me get to that goal, and then I reassess it again. And for me, man, me doing my best has been, again, I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, Josh, is like submitting what the goal is to the Father, submitting it to God. And like kind of like my saying for myself, or like kind of like my everyday thing has been prayer, plan, execution, and then repeat. So God, I'm praying, I'm getting the vision from you. I'm planning, I'm writing it down and making it tangible. I'm executing those things that I said I'm going to do, and then I go back and I reassess it. Because I'm not saying that I get it perfect and right every time. There are times where you kind of get messages that come in and it's like, I kind of heard what you said, God, but I was off a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me kind of go back and kind of reassess.
But that kind of plays into what you were saying with the whole Phil Jackson situation, right? Like
Right.
good coaching, bad coaching. Like we got the greatest coach ever, right?
Yes.
God always positions us places us in the right position to win. And a lot of times, do we win every time? No, because a lot of times we were out there and we didn't pick the best option. You know what I'm saying? Like he set us up to win, but for whatever reason, we ended up taking that L. And when we go back into the locker room, you know what I'm saying, or we go back into the film room, and he's breaking down like, okay, do you see what you did there? What could you have done differently?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not necessarily like a condemnation, but a chastisement. Like, hey, man, remember what I told you. Like the game plan that I've given you works. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times it's just us. We allowed, you know, as players, so to speak, we allow ourselves outside things to come in and distract us, and we're not on our best game, right? You know, we're not having our best game. We're not, doing or operating in our strengths fully. You know what I'm saying? Because we're distracted, or we've allowed something to come in and cause a hindrance or some type of interference. And so I think that's definitely a great analogy that you're bringing up as far as like, you know, what was the process you said? You said is to
Pray, plan, execute, repeat.
pray, plan, execute, repeat.
Get the vision, write it down, execute it, and then do it all over again.
Come on.
Yep.
Because it's not a one-time thing. This is an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you guys, and Josh, you brought it up a little bit too. He's like, well, maybe I'll try to do more. You know, this basketball season has me inspired to do better, to be better. But you also mentioned that point in time where you kind of start to lose hair and you get a little wrinkly. And I'm really big about being like future-minded and like kind of future-focused. Like, what do you think is in competition or physical competition that you're getting out of that? Because like obviously it's drive, right? Is there a possibility that you can find that same drive from somewhere else? Because ultimately, yes, we can take the most of our time like in our 30s, like, yeah, I'm still physically good, I'm still physically able, but like, what do you think might carry you, I don't know, when you're not able to be as physical? And maybe Donald, you can answer this too. It's just a thought.